Hello brothers and sisters, today I can finally share my experience with Doom Eternal after completing it, and I have to confess that it is everything I ever wanted in a game. I thought Doom 2016 was packed with action, but Doom Eternal is the action. From beginning to end, this game did a marvelous job of reminding me that our protagonist is not just a soldier, he's the Doomslayer, the one they fear. And it all started with the most badass opening scene I have seen in a game so far.
Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
Which, by the way, it didn't just set the tone for the rest of the game, but it also showed me just how bad the situation is, and I'm quite literally humanity's last hope of survival, and it kept that vibe throughout the entire game. I already had big expectations given how good Doom 2016 was, but Doom Eternal blew them out of the water. It does share some similarities from the previous game though. For example, there are weapon mods, suit points, runes, glory kills, the maps, platforming, even though there is way more of it now, there's collectibles, and obviously the quick-paced gameplay. However, ID Software added more stuff that enhanced the gameplay and gave it more depth. For example, for the combat, they added a flamethrower to burn enemies and get armor when you damage them, frag grenades for crowd control and AoE damage, ice grenades to slow down or immobilize enemies, a dash to get away from enemies, maneuver while in the air, or reach faraway places, the blood punch to break enemy armor and decimate everything in front of you, and enemy weak points to target specific areas to weaken enemies. All these additions made the combat more dynamic, since now you have to actually think instead of doing the traditional shoot it till it dies. Not only that, but now you have to pay attention to which weapons you're using when dealing with specific enemies. For example, instead of shooting cacodemons with any weapons you have, you can just use the grenades from your launcher or shotgun mod to immediately open them for a glory kill. Or you can use the heavy rifle to shoot down the armor cannons from the Mancubus, so they can't use their flamethrowers when close. For upgrading the Slayer, we now have the Sentinel crystals, which work similar to the Argent cells from the first game, and the Sentinel batteries, which let you unlock different secrets in your space base. Yes, we have a space base, and I'll talk more about it in a moment. Before that, I need to mention that ID Software made Doom Eternal fun for casual players as well as hardcore fans, because you can enjoy it whether you just want to have a good time or you're looking for a challenge. If you want the latter though, Doom Eternal has various ways to deliver. For starters, you can pick one of the hardest difficulties when you start your game, but besides that, you can also do the Slayer gates and the secret encounters, which are scattered throughout the stages, as well as the master levels after you finish the main campaign. The Slayer gates are a series of Colosseum fights where you have to face a few waves of enemies, and some of them have demons you are supposed to meet later in the story. On the other hand, secret encounters are similar to the gore nests from Doom 2016, but instead of getting waves of enemies, you get a small group of demons that you have to kill under a time limit. And lastly, the master levels are just a harder and more challenging version of some of the levels you previously completed on the main campaign. On the other hand, if you just want to enjoy the game more casually, you can do that too. But you need to keep in mind that Doom Eternal is not going to hold your hand. You will die a lot. To stay alive as long as possible, you will have to take advantage of absolutely everything at your disposal, and most importantly, keep moving. Staying still for too long is a sure way to meet your end, so remember that. It is a fun challenge, and I love it. But besides that, and the gameplay, there are three things that I absolutely loved the most. The first one is the story. While Doom 2016's story was more direct and lacked depth, it was good enough since the gameplay was the main focus. On the other hand, Doom Eternal showed us the origin of the Slayer's power and even introduced us to new characters and factions, like the Night Sentinels, the World Argentineur, the Canmaker, the Angels, Heaven and the Father, ultimately adding more depth and lore. But they didn't just do that, they also showed us via cutscenes, audio logs and broadcasts the Slayer's impact on regular humans. Scientists and soldiers cowered in fear the moment the Slayer stepped into the room, all flinching and backing away when they got too close. The broadcasts from the Ark Resistance Network kept us and the citizens updated on the conflict, exposed the UAC's attempts to deny the Slayer's existence, and showed the effects of some of our actions, from reducing demonic activity globally after defeating the Super Gore Nests, to even inspiring survivors to keep fighting. Lastly, the audio logs gave us a clear picture of how relentless, brutal and terrifying the demons truly are for the regular humans. That, and it was also hinted that the Slayer pretty much has his own religion now. All of these things made the whole story and game more interesting and intense, because now the Doomslayer is more than just a big green man too angry to die. He is now a warrior and a hero, and I'm all for it. Next would be the design. The look and design of the stages, the demons, the weapons, to even the Slayer himself are some of the things that ID Software nailed in the previous game, but in Doom Eternal they stepped up their game. The environment is more grotesque in the Earth stages, with all the blood and guts thanks to the corruption of the demons, and there are also these sections that shows us the torment the captured humans are going through, nailing the savagery of the demons. In the Hell stages, we can see the remains of Sentinels' mech armor, which was completely unexpected until you read the codex entries about the war between the Sentinels and the demons. Speaking of the demons, they look more menacing and dangerous now. Some of the enemies from the previous game got a rework, while we also got introduced to demons from the classic Doom games like the Archvile and Pain Elemental, and a few new ones like the Ranatrons and the Marauder, and they all look great. Also, the fact that they lose chunks of their bodies when we damage them is a great indicator of how hurt they are, and it makes the combat more visceral than before. The Slayer also got an upgrade. Even though he already looked strong before, the new armor makes him look more badass, and his weapons look and sound more powerful too. Even the music got better. I thought that it couldn't go harder than in Doom 2016, but it was now more aggressive than before. Mick Gordon completely outdid himself this time and created one of the hardest OSTs in gaming. Everything in Doom Eternal looks and feels great, and this wouldn't have been possible if either the music or art design were not as good as it was. And the third and final thing that I absolutely loved about this game, it just has to be the Fortress of Doom. As mentioned before, the Slayer has a space base, and this place is called the Fortress of Doom, and it's where he goes to prepare for the next fight. If you know about DC Comics, I guess you can think of it as the Justice League Watchtower, but more gothic, cool, and honestly with very little room for an actual team. However, what I like the most about the Doom Fortress is the things that we can find there. I am not just talking about collectibles, secrets and albums. I'm referring to the Slayer's personal room, because we can learn a little more about his personality just by looking around. For example, he has a portrait of himself with Daisy, his pet bunny, which is surprisingly wholesome for a Doom game. He's also a gamer with a pretty cool gaming PC setup. Surprisingly, he's a bit of a nerd too, because he likes to collect toys and figurines. And he really likes his weapons and showcases them in a specific corner of his room. These are not the only cool things that you can find in the fortress though, because if you take a little detour, you will eventually find the second coolest place in the base, the Repatorium. This is literally a prison where the Slayer fights demons he previously encountered to practice, without dying or permanently losing ammo or extra lives. The Doom franchise is certainly filling a spot that most games just can't, and I am going to enjoy this ride for as long as I can. It's been a blast, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be like that for a long time, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. Now, if it isn't obvious at this point, I love this game in many ways. However, there are a couple of things that I don't particularly like. Now, these are not game-breaking stuff, and it might look like I'm nitpicking a bit, which, to be honest, I probably am, but either way, here they are. The first one has to be the skins on the weekly challenges. Like, one thing that I never thought a Doom game would have is skins. Like, some are cool, others are kinda goofy, but for the most part, they feel a little out of place. Even more so the weekly challenges, which, to be honest, they kinda look like a disguised battle pass to me. They don't look like something that should be in a Doom game, since Doom is all about slaying demons, not grinding for a skin. But hey, it's free, and there aren't any gameplay mechanics locked behind it, so it's not too bad. And the second one has to be the codex entries. As much as it was very cool to learn about the lore of Doom Eternal, I wished they had a better way to show it to us instead of just giving us a codex entry to read. Like, just imagine how good it would have been if we have had the story of the Slayer's arrival to Argent the Nur and the Unholy Crusade narrated by the Betrayer or King Novik. Also, I am not a fan of hiding important bits of lore in text. For example, I was surprised that the moment that we met Samuel again, he was somehow turned into scrap, and the story never tells us what happened to him. And since he was one of my favorite characters in the first game, this was a bit disappointing. It is by reading the codex that you find what happened after his return, but if you don't read it, you never find out. Again, these aren't things that make the game unplayable or anything, I just wish they have done them a little better. Now, you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned the Ancient Gods DLC, and that is because I haven't finished it yet. Life has gotten in the way a little bit, but I wanted to get this video out. I'll give you my thoughts about the DLC once I finish it, so please just wait for me. Anyway, Doom Eternal was absolutely everything I wanted in an FPS. The gameplay is fun, challenging, and has a depth that I haven't seen in any other FPS. The lore was expanded tremendously from Doom 2016, and the story had much higher stakes now. It was cool in every way, and if you haven't played yet, I absolutely recommend you to do it. That's all for today. See you next time, bros.
The beast! Does he not seek enhanced power? Gifts to aid him in his noble conquest, perhaps in return for my